everybody, welcome to All Day Live. I'm Amy Hockert. We're glad that you're with us here. And we got some sunshine out there today, so that feels good. The temperature, not so much. So we're going to talk about that with meteorologist Keith Marler, who's going to be joining us in a couple of minutes. Also, hopefully you got where you needed to go without any trouble this morning, because those roads, they were kind of giving us the business. So we'll talk to him in just a minute. We are also going to do our best to try to recap that flurry of news out of the White House yesterday, much of it aimed squarely at Minnesota. We've had a little time to kind of let the dust settle and sort through some of the things that we need to know about and cross-check some things, so hopefully we can get you some more details there. And we've got crews that are following the latest here today as well. We're going to take you to a live event in just a little bit, in about 10-15 minutes. Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell is scheduled to talk to the media, and we'll plan on taking that live for you. And we'll see what we have to say there after just kind of another really disappointing weekend. But we look ahead. Gopher news as well. Speaking of sports, National Signing Day today, Gopher football, and we are also scheduled to hear from women's basketball head coach Dawn Plitzowite live as her team. I don't know if you've been following the Gopher women, but they are on an absolute tear and coming up against Big Ten play here shortly. So we'll try to join some of that as well and hear from Coach Plitzowite. Also, next hour, winter lovers, it is your time to rejoice. I know it's really cold out right now, but also that's keeping the snow there. So we're going to hit the slopes at Trollhaugen. That's coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. We hope that you'll stay with us as we take you out there live. And I know some of the skis are opening up. I think Highland maybe tonight too. So good chance to get outside. Just bundle up because it's going to get colder here as the day goes on and into the evening. We wanted to try to catch you up, if we could, on what we're covering. We wanted to start with some of the ice operations reportedly here in Minnesota, and we do have a couple of different crews that are following some leads on that today, and we'll check in with them a little bit later as they are trying to get some traction on some different leads. So we'll check in with them. But first, maybe we can recap some of what happened yesterday, because it was a lot. If you were with us yesterday, it was coming in, you were learning it in real time with us, and it was I described it as kind of a fire hose of information, and so we wanted to sort some of it out, slow some of it down. We know that a lot happened out of the White House yesterday related specifically to Minnesota. So for context, for the last couple of weeks, we have seen an increased focus from the Trump administration, particularly on the Somali community in Minnesota. It was yesterday about this time that a New York Times article dropped, and it said that federal agents were coming to Minnesota for an immigration operation targeting Somalis in the Twin Cities area. It said who have deportation orders. In other words, they've already been ordered to leave the country. The White House still hasn't confirmed any sort of operation. Locally, we haven't confirmed anything with law enforcement, but as we know, local law enforcement would not assist in any sort of federal operation, local and state. However, we did hear from an immigration attorney yesterday in the Somali community who does believe that these types of operations have started already. In fact, last week, and he says he's been getting calls from people in the community, saying that federal agents are, for instance, knocking on doors. Yesterday as well, as soon as that New York Times article came out, we saw immediate reaction from people like Governor Walz, the mayors of Minneapolis and St. Paul, Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara, and also some leaders from the Somali community. And their biggest concern, one of their biggest concerns, was that there won't be due process. In other words, people will get swept up, arrested, maybe detained, questioned, potentially violating civil or human rights. Here's a little bit of what they had to say yesterday in response.
We stand firm and rock solid with the Somali people here in Minneapolis. We stand against hate and we stand up for love. We know the wonderful contributions that you have made to this city.
I know many families are fearful tonight. They are. But I want you to know that City of Minneapolis stand behind you.
We are not participating at all in any kind of, immigration enforcement activity. And for the purposes of keeping everyone safe in this city, we need all people of this community to know that they can call on the Minneapolis police when they need help.
And there is that effort right now in the communities, particularly in the Somali community, and they're calling it kind of know your rights. And there are many resources that you can try to find to understand what your rights are when it comes to, being questioned, detained, that kind of thing. So they're really encouraging folks to find that information to understand what their rights are. Just stepping back just a little bit, we talked about this overarching storyline here that President Trump and the Trump administration really zeroing in on the Somali community in Minnesota, especially these last couple of weeks. He's focused a lot on fraud. He's pointed to, Minnesota's largest fraud scheme in history, as we know, Feeding Our Future. That cost the state some $300 million. There are more than 70 defendants, and most of whom are of Somali descent. There's also a housing stabilization program, an autism program. There was daycare fraud several years ago, and all of these with some connections to the Somali community. It was on November 21st that the president posted on Truth Social, quote, "Somali gangs are terrorizing the people of that great state," meaning Minnesota, "and billions of dollars are missing." So the focus here from the Trump administration, as they say, has really been on fraud. And we also heard Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem yesterday tell the president that she actually looks specifically into immigration fraud in Minnesota. And maybe you heard her soundbite yesterday where she claims that 50% of visas in Minnesota are fraudulent, saying people either married their brother or claimed they were somebody they were not. And we've been working to find data to support those numbers. They were not provided by the White House, by DHS. So we have just kind of wanted to let you know on our end what we're trying to do here as far as, is that number accurate? Where do those numbers come from? We've reached out to, I'll list off some of the lawmakers here who we have not yet heard back from, but Senator Tina Smith, Representative Ilhan Omar, Senator Amy Klobuchar, Representative Pete Stauber, Majority Whip, and U.S. Representative Tom Emmer. We've also reached out to DHS, the federal agency, for any data, to back up the Secretary's claims of these fraudulent visas. We, again, have not heard back from any of them. However, we did get one statement from Governor Walz's office, and they issued just this one sentence statement in response saying, quote, "These comments are puzzling, seeing as the federal government manages immigration and visas." So that's what we have for you on that piece of it. Okay. The other big story out of the White House yesterday that we just wanted to recap for you here. Moving forward, we'll be covering this more today with our crews, but the White House put out a list of states that the Trump administration is targeting, and this is over SNAP funding. So Minnesota is one of several Democratic states that are now at risk of losing federal SNAP funding. The government says unless they can comply with federal reporting standards. Now, the White House says that this is, again, a move to root out fraud, protect the American taxpayer. Just a couple of stats for you here. In Minnesota, we have 7.8% of our population participating in this program, so just over about 450,000 people, and that's as of this past May. Federal records show that SNAP payouts in Minnesota increased 174% between 2020 and 2021. The payouts went from $725 million in 2020 to nearly $2 billion the following year. Now, of course, we've looked into this as well, and just wanted to, as we're recapping, let you know some of the kind of legwork that we're doing on the foundational end of this. But state officials have told us, as it pertains to those numbers, that they told us that the state incorrectly reported the numbers to the USDA, and that it would be working to understand more how that data was collected. We know that, so it is, the funding comes from the USDA, the federal government, but then it is sort of managed and distributed by a state agency, the Department of Children and Family Youth Services. So that's kind of that piece of it. I know there's a lot here, so one more quick thing on this, just to kind of button it up. In late November, so just a few weeks ago, Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison ended up joining 21 other attorneys general. They filed a lawsuit to stop the federal government from, cutting off these SNAP benefits, and there's been some more movement with that as well. So we'll continue to follow that. That was another angle. We reached out to Ellison today, AG Ellison, and weren't able to, he was not available today for us, but we'd like to get some more information on that as well. So again, we're still trying to figure a lot of this out, as you are, and we'll talk a little bit more about next hour we'll have some time for this because it's really important to understand some of the immigration terminology when it comes to the Somali community in particular, because there were some things yesterday that the president said that we want to make sure we kind of clarify for people so they understand exactly what he's saying and what it kind of means as it pertains to the law. All right, your time is 12:10 now, and we will continue to follow all of these developments plus other headlines here throughout the afternoon. It is, I don't know if you had a chance to, if you haven't left the house yet today, or you know, you didn't get, you weren't out there, and you kind of were saved from some of this, but boy, I feel like it was one of those mornings where just a little bit of flurry action created some pretty slick spots on the roadways. But I think about a half an inch of snow fell. I'll have to check in with Keith here, but you know, we always say it, a little dab will do you, and it sure did.
That's all it takes. Sometimes that's the worst, because it's just enough to make it slippery, but not enough to make folks think it's enough, so to speak.
Yeah.
When it's a lot of snow, then you're present in your driving, and you're present in your caution. But when it's like, it's just a little bit, I had to brush it off my windshield, you're not really as of mind of what you're doing necessarily. You kind of.
Before you jump into what you're going to do next, can I interrupt you and ask you to do this? Because you said something this morning, and I thought, if we can catch people maybe at the top of the noon hour. You talked about salting, and if folks, is it too late? Because you told us this morning that was the time to get out and maybe salt a little bit, because as the day went on, it would be less effective. Is that right?
You read the packaging of whatever you have. Okay. Most of the stuff that you can buy at the stores works in the teens and the 20s. Okay. It's still effective, but it starts to fall apart depending on what different brands work in different ways, and different treatments work in different ways. But when you start to get to the single digits, some things stop working. And when you fall below 0, this is air temperature, not wind chill. Wind chill only affects us, things with skin. Things with feelings and emotions, so your driveway is not impacted by wind chill at all. So again, read your packaging, but most things are most effective in the 20s and the mid to upper teens. That's where we are right now. Everything's just fine. It starts to become less effective when we fall into the lower teens or into the single digits, or certainly below 0. Pretty much everything doesn't work unless it's a specialty product. Again, read the packaging of whatever you've purchased. If it's generic salt, it starts to not work at all. If it's some type of special chemical thing, well, you're going to have to read your packaging there. So again, read what you have purchased. You know what you have, and you'll see what works. But most everything's going to work right now. So if you haven't treated your sidewalk or your steps or your driveway, and you do that type of thing, it's still okay, but you're losing that opportunity as we go on into the evening hours, because our temperatures are falling outside right now. Let's stop looking at our blue sky. It's still 18. We've been holding on to 18 now for 3 hours. We held on for 20 for about 4 hours this morning, so it's a slow slide. It's not like temperatures are just falling off a cliff. They're about to, as we lose that sun, but the sun emerging is keeping things pretty steady. In fact, we had temperatures actually rise up in Detroit Lakes last hour. They went from 0 to 1. Our wind, though, out of the northwest at 14 miles per hour gives us a wind chill of 4. A sign that the drier air is trying to chill out is the fact that our dew point has fallen 10 points since this morning. So the temperature's only fallen 2 degrees, but the dew point has gone from 15 down to 5. And that's a big clue right there as to how far we can fall quite quickly once we lose that sun. We can bottom out really fast once we lose that sun. So we've got widespread single digits to our northwest. We're in the teens right now, but with a breeze out of the northwest between 10 and 15 miles per hour. Some folks still up to 20 or 25 in southwestern Minnesota. It's how we feel, and we feel like we're on 4 with that cut to the breeze. Feel like we're 1 below in Cambridge. We feel like we're in the single digits below 0 in St. Cloud and Brainerd, 14 below in Hibbing, 18 below in Detroit Lakes, 10 below in Wilmer, 16 below in Morris. And so you start to get that icy edge to that breeze itself when you don't block that breeze out. That's why we need the mittens and we need the ear coverage going into tonight and tomorrow morning for the kids at the bus stop, etc. So temperatures continue to slide through the afternoon. We'll be around 13 by around 3 o'clock. But then once the sun goes down, we go below 0. Not just wind chills, actual air temperature goes below 0. We said this yesterday for folks that are new to the state, are new to the upper Midwest in general. Nose crunching weather, your mucous membranes freeze up when the Fahrenheit scale goes below 0. So that's what we get tomorrow morning. And if we hit 7 below tomorrow morning, which is our forecast temperature, That'll be the coldest reading we've had this early in the season in about 30 years at 7 below. Then we stay frigid tomorrow. We'll be back to the teens. A little impulsive energy tries to bring a couple flurries our way, maybe tomorrow night or into our Friday. But 13 by 3 o'clock feels like 4 below. And then as we go on into the rest of the state, those single digits grab hold. But then overnight tonight, that's the sub-zero temperatures for everyone involved across the state. It's all even together. The snowpack down south helps make it equate across the board, but it's the wind chills that'll get us tomorrow morning. 15 to 25 below. Again, no one's in record territory here. Our records are in the teens and 20s below zero. Nothing touching that. It's just really early in the season to get it, and we haven't been that cold this early in the season in about 30 years to hit 7 below. Then we rebound to 15 into tomorrow, and then it's back to the 20s again as we go into Friday, and then we sink back again into Sunday. A couple flurry chances, and we're right back up again. So it's that up and down motion that we're riding here. But even when we jump back up, by next week, by the way, Amy, this 29, perfectly average. Average has fallen to frozen land by the time we get to the middle of next week.
All righty. Okay. Thank you, Keith. Appreciate it. Let's get you to break and get you right back in 2 minutes here for Coach Kevin O'Connell, who's expected to speak live. We'll take it for you when All Day Live continues. Well, welcome back. Do we match kind of today? Is that brown or is that?
This is more of a red.
Oh, it is kind of a burgundy.
We did yesterday a little bit.
Yeah.
We both had shades of pink on, I believe.
Yeah.
We don't do that on purpose in case anyone thinks that we do.
No, but it would be pretty cool if we did.
It would be. We'll see if we can keep it going tomorrow.
See if anybody notices.
Unintentionally.
Maybe tomorrow you can wear this and I'll wear that, and we'll see if anybody notices.
I like it. I like it.
So we're standing by for a live availability here, right?
We sure are. We're waiting for Coach Kevin O'Connell to take. This is part of his weekly Wednesday. Listen, we're waiting to hear kind of where J.J. McCarthy is in the concussion protocol. We're going to see maybe if there's an update on that status today to see if he will start Sunday against the Commanders. If not, we presume it will be Max Brosmer for a second straight game. So that's kind of the big headline as the Vikings get set to take on the Commanders, who are also up in the air with their quarterback. Their star quarterback, Jaden Daniels, has been out with an elbow injury. Probably not likely that he'll play, but he could, and that would certainly change things for Brian Flores and his defense. So.
Okay. Yeah, I was hoping that we could talk a little bit more about it, but and I was kind of embarrassed to tell you that I intentionally didn't watch on Sunday because I'm at that point where I love this team so much that it hurts too much actually not to watch.
It's hard.
So I walked past a TV in our house and it was Max Brosmer dropping back, and I was like, wait, why is Max in? And he's dropping back and he's scrambling and all of a sudden he just chucks it. And you got a pick six going the other way. That was the one moment I happened to look up, and then I was
you
like,
kind of said, maybe it's time to start dinner. Maybe it's time to. I think I went outside and did some shoveling.
Yeah, it's just, we love this team forever, but you just at some point you have to protect your own sanity and just say, there's something else I could be doing right now other than getting really mad.
Amy, I'll defend Max a little bit on that. Yeah. I didn't love the play call. I also didn't love the decision to go for it there. We have just gotten to a point in the league, and listen, I've never coached NFL football or any level of football, but we've gotten to a point in the league where we just have stopped kicking field goals and stopped taking points. At that point, the game was in reach. I think it was 7-0 Seattle, if I remember correctly. Would have made it 7-3. They just came off a turnover. To walk away without any points there, well, not only did they walk away without any points, they gave Seattle points.
Yeah.
So I just,
Totally.
I think it was a bad position to put Max.
Oh yeah, no, I think he, from what I understand, after my brother gave me the debrief, and he did well. He did well under the circumstances, and we hope the best for him. It's just it's just really hard to know which team you're going to get, which And
I know once he rolls out, he's thinking, I can't take a sack here.
Yeah, for sure. But
that would have been better than.
Yeah. But well, you know what? This is where we are. So we move through it and figure it out. And then of course Adam Thielen, getting waived too this past week is a big piece of
and picked up
the headlines. Oh, did he get picked up?
He got picked up by the Steelers yesterday.
Was that yesterday? Oh gosh, in the midst of everything going on, I totally missed that. So the Steelers.
So Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers.
How about that?
They have really been struggling in the wide receiver. Their offense is just really struggling to begin with. They were a team that started off pretty strong, beat the Vikings. and now they're kind of struggling.
Yeah.
And so they're looking for some help. Adam Thielen wasn't getting, he just wasn't seeing the field very much here, so maybe he'll see the field more. Also, he said he wanted to go to a playoff team. The Steelers, I don't know if they'll make the playoffs, so we'll see.
Okay.
Yes,
wow,
that was the big news yesterday.
That's a roller coaster for his family, they were in such a high when they, learned that they would be coming back to Minnesota. They thought it was such a long shot, and then now up and out again. And man, that's a lot. That's a lot of roller coaster.
We'll keep an eye here on Kevin O'Connell.
Okay.
Let's go maybe to some other headlines here.
Yeah, I've got a couple things I can roll through. If you, oh no, let's go to KOC.
It's almost like he's watching.
Wanted to start out today, just let you know we decided today to open up Ty Chandler's window. He's been doing a really good job working his way back, and with timing is good with Corey Kiner getting poached by the Cardinals off of our practice squad. So having Ty out there will be really good to have him back. Obviously, very important week of preparation. It is not lost on us for 1 second, just the importance of playing better at home, getting off to some faster starts at home, and really what it's going to take to win a game versus a talented team. Dan's a really good coach. Cliff's a heck of an offensive coordinator. So we've got to put together one of our best weeks, and it comes at a time where we need to have it, and our team understands that, and our coaching staff understands that. So we'll hit the field with a bunch of energy and urgency today. Really, I'll let you guys open it up, and if you have any questions on injuries, I can hit those.
Kevin, what is the overarching message to the team? There's obviously frustration. What do you tell them this week when you try to get the train back on the track?
Yeah, I think it's important when you talk about what it's going to take to win a game, and that coincides with getting the quote-unquote train back on the tracks is we got to stop doing things to lose games before we give ourselves a chance to win them. And sometimes it might not be as catastrophic as a turnover play, but those are certainly in the ledger of things that lose games. Sometimes it's an early. You may play a really good complete game, but your one play is on a 4th and 1, or your one play is on a 3rd and 3 early on in the game, where we've got a chance to maybe start a little faster, sustain a little bit of momentum, give our defense a chance to play, not in an even 50-50 game or trailing. And then special teams, the role they play in that one play phase of, as we've seen at times this year, to maybe kickstart some momentum. They're going to start the game regardless first. For their one play phase. So it's a lot of things like that. And then it's just understanding that, we are in the midst of troubling times, but how we handle these times and how we show the ability to persevere through these times are what, kind of the path moving forward will be forged upon, whether that's decisions that are made, whether that's ultimately what this kind of organization and our roster and our staff and things, all those things. Like, we're in a moment now where we need to all respond the right way together, and we've got the leadership to do it. We've got the players to do it, and it talking about it gets you to a certain point, but then it's about the action plans on the grass to make sure that happens.
Kevin, what's your expectation this week for Darisaw and Donovan Jackson?
Yeah, Donovan is not quite there yet from a standpoint of participating in practice, but he's rapidly recovering and doing everything in his power to be on the field. It's been awesome to see, and we'll see how that works towards the end of the week. He's proven, coming off the wrist surgery earlier this year, he can go out there and play at a pretty high level if he can get to that place where he's stable and has the power and change of direction and those things. And then, like I said, Monday the plan for Christian is to have his normal kind of work week and flow and play in the football game.
Kevin, when you were talking about just the inventory of the offense, is that something that you kind of look back at yourself through the offseason, or is that something that's sort of developed as you've gone along with a lot of the stops and starts and different personnel that you've had to use?
Yeah, I think you get so wrapped up in the game week, and for much of our season it's been the conversations haven't necessarily started as, for a lot of the season, as what's the best way to attack. It's been more so, how do we mitigate some of the issues we're working through and give guys a chance to play well with our scheme, and that might be helping areas up front. That might be trying to run the football a little bit more. That might be trying to be explosive to see if you can generate some of those plays that have historically been huge parts of our offense. So it's a lot of different things, and then you get into what you're doing well or have the capability to do well as an offense versus that opponent and what they do well. And then you try to craft a game plan for each week. But it is important, and I don't think it's an off-season thing, of being able to take a step back and look at in totality, knowing the reasons why each week, but then ultimately how did those games play out. Whether it was the way we had to play in London against Cleveland and that game worked out, or some of other games where maybe it didn't work out, and then you look at how do we want to play this game this week against this opponent and try to craft that game plan in all three phases. It's obviously our offense is a big part of the conversation right now, and rightly so, but it's all three phases.
Kevin, when you guys are
using chippers, what's the key to when you're using chippers, what's the key to kind of executing the block well, and if they're still going to be part of the pass concept, getting the timing right where you can chip them?
Yeah, the depth of the routes that are on the play. It doesn't make a lot of sense or prove to be very valuable if you need that eligible within the concept to help kind of activate certain things versus certain coverages. So that's why sometimes if you're going to use those things, maybe those routes need to be at a certain level or depth to still have a cohesive concept. So it's definitely something that you try to balance those things. But then if you're going to have more of we call it that ball out kind of quicker game, quick decision, put it in play kind of plays, you have to be pretty darn certain that number one's going to be open, because the second that doesn't happen, even if all eligibles are out and their distribution is clean and you have this field spaced and there's people open, once you're now resetting to another progression, it is no longer, as much as you want to put it in a column on the call sheet, it is no longer quick game. And now protection does come into play, and we've seen some of those things happen. Thinking back to the first play of the Green Bay second half, that's a quick game play, but it ends up being a sack on a 1st and 10 that proved to be catastrophic on that set of downs and the game.
Kevin, how do you get Jordan Edison back on track from a production standpoint?
Yeah, I think that kind of goes hand in hand with Matt's question, and it's like you're asking yourself some individual questions based upon guys' production history, and the same could be said for our offensive production history. We're well aware of kind of statistically what it not only looks like on a piece of paper, but what it feels like. But obviously our pass game has never really existed in a place where it wasn't a top 10 caliber, in the league kind of pass game. We're not that right now in any way, shape, or form. Our execution, our ability to pitch and catch, our protection from on enough of these weighty downs where it's a combination of a lot of things. So you have to ask yourself those questions as far as individual impact players, but then obviously strain those through the lens of what do we need to do to make sure the collective group is successful, can sustain momentum, and hopefully stack positive plays.
Kevin, I know you and Justin talked a fair bit. To the extent that you can, where do you think his head is at right now? I know after the game it looked like he was pretty frustrated sitting on the water cooler.
Yeah.
Understandably so.
Yeah.
But just in your dialogue with him and your perception of where he's at, like what's your sense of that?
Yeah, he's obviously wants to win football games. He's, as I've mentioned before, he's as competitive as anybody I've ever been around, and so he's a leader on our team, and nobody is accepting any sort of the outcomes that we're facing right now, regardless of the reason, regardless of the current state of where we're at. Nobody's accepting that, and Justin certainly will never be asked to accept that, but he always, like he did today, he shows up with energy, and he's going to have an impact on our organization at a really high level, and we've got to find ways to allow players just like Justin and Jordan and some of our other players to have a chance to impact the game. And then when they get those chances, we know that good things will happen. But it takes much more than just calling plays for them or, having sequences in the games where they can have a high level of impact because this game requires 10 other guys to operate at a standard to allow that to happen, and that's what we got to strive to have happen. And Justin plays a huge role in that as one of our captains.
When you talk about everybody responding the right way and knowing that's going to happen, do you think this is the biggest test your culture has faced?
Oh, no question. Culture is ultimately tested when those on the outside and with a lot of every right to do so, when we're not getting the results as an organization and we're not getting the standard that we've established. It'd be one thing if we had never established that standard, but when it's not happening that people have come to expect or came into this year with certain expectations, that's what we want, and that's what every good organization should want to have. But ultimately, you prove kind of what you're all about in these moments, and even when there is justified noise and a lot of it, what are we doing? What are we doing on a if any of that affects what's been built from a standpoint of how we work, how connected we are as a team, even through some of the frustration, then there's a bigger conversation to have about culture. And I'm very fortunate that I can trust in our guys and our coaches and what's been built here to, it's not a matter of staying the course, because it's a matter of improvement and altering the course of where we're at, regardless of what that means for, our season into the future. And all of them have connection points to that, but it's about trying to go 1-0 this week. And if you've ever understood or questioned why a cliche like that is used, we're in a moment where it matters more so now than ever, because it's not 1-0 to win 5 in a row or 9 in a row. It's 1-0 to go 1-0, and that's where we're at right now.
Kevin, are there similarities between these are two playoff teams from last year struggling? Beyond the quarterback situations, there's other similarities when you look at them and how they've slipped back?
Yeah, I think the adversity of injury, hitting at early on in the season. They've obviously had some players that they expected to have that haven't been out there. The quarterback, obviously, and some of their defensive players, some of their offensive players. They got Terry back recently, who's a heck of a player. Know Terry well and think the world of him. But yeah, I think it's just a matter of winning and losing is it's a very simple thing. You either win or you lose, and then the weeks come, whether they're on the schedule. We know the schedule the moment it comes out, and you've got to find a way to navigate what is a thing in totality that it's very easy to look at and say, this is what happened, this has happened, this needs to stop happening. All of those things lead you right back to 12 o'clock on Sunday at US Bank Stadium, where we get an opportunity to coach the things that are required to go win the game, make sure we don't do the things that lose football games that we've learned in a very, very difficult way this year. But all of those things lead you right back to 12 o'clock on Sunday, and it's a one-of-one proposition this week that matters a great deal to us here, and every single one of these matter, whether we've won 5 in a row or we're in the moment we are right now. They all matter the same. It's just kind of navigating through things that we need to do absolutely within our locker room and within our team to win, but also to navigate the external factors of kind of some of the conversation as well.
Kevin, what stands out in your mind?
Come back to you, Mark.
What stands out in your mind as you think back to time you spent with Marcus Mariota and some of the other quarterbacks when you were first starting out?
Yeah, that was a really unique time, because I had committed to Marcus and his family to be a part of his pre-draft process and kind of run that for him, and then kind of got the opportunity to coach. So it was kind of one of those things where the commitment and my word mattered. So if it was something where I wasn't going to be able to do that, I wasn't going to take that opportunity. But luckily, with Coach Pett there and the Cleveland being as understanding as they were, it allowed me to finish that process out, and we grew really close. I think the world of Marcus. He's an unbelievable person, and have always really respected his talent and his ability to play the position at this level. And he's really, his quarterback journey has kind of led him to be somebody that teams can rely on, being one snap away. And he's been really good stepping in for them, allowing them to play at a level that they've played a lot of close games. They've been right there in a lot of them, and I think Marcus is, if it is indeed Marcus on Sunday, we've got to play well defensively because he can function and run that offense at a really high level. And if it's Jaden, we know that he's one of the best at the position in football. Regardless of if he's been out, you don't imagine he's going to be very rusty.
The roller coaster in and out of the playoffs goes back farther than you guys got here. Just curious, and typically it is injury related, whatever it's every other year. The teams that stay in the playoffs that weather looks, and I know you're not in San Francisco, but like what they've done, injuries hitting at the quarterback. How are those teams able to do it, to stay? Because it is hard, obviously, to stay there. But getting there is one thing to stay.
Yeah, I think it's simple things sometimes, Mark, like the depth. The players that are going to be stepping in, have they been in your system, kind of that true next man up, or are they players that maybe are the next man up, but just because of maybe the necessity to acquire a player or whatever it is. Like, I think it's different every single team, and I think every single injury, like you referenced San Francisco, but I don't believe they made the playoffs last year, and they did have some injuries that year, and maybe that's a great I think the world of Kyle and John and how they do things, and maybe some how they make decisions based upon that experience, and they've had a lot of time together from that journey from whenever it was, 2016 till now. So I think each team, is its own individual story, and what you have to do is you have to be very honest in your assessment of the why, starting with yourself, starting with your staff, starting with the intent of what was put together for that season, and then ultimately what happened along the way, that you can pinpoint real reasons. Otherwise, it can be a very fine line between navigating what happened and how to fix some of those things, and excuse making, which is never going to be something that I know me personally, I will never be about. You got to own it, and you got to acknowledge it, and then you got to craft a plan moving forward with the right principles and the right things based upon now what we have is 4 years, coming up on 4 years of experience of what our team is and what we need to be in the very, very near future.
Last two.
Kevin, just over these last 5 games, what would you like to see in terms of progress from JJ?
Yeah, I think even talking to him this week, I think we've talked a lot about plenty of moments that you guys probably have logged away for eternity of fundamentals and technique and all those things, and I appreciate the questions and the interest and the understanding of the quarterback development process. But as I talked to him this week, it's purely about decision making at this point, and there'll be time to ultimately fundamentally focus on things and build, continue building kind of this layer of a foundation that will be important for him into the future. But now it feels like he's got enough experience, he kind of knows a lot of these principles that we've talked about. I want him to have a clear head and a clear mind to just go play, but play with an understanding of the decisions that I make with the ball in my hand, the decisions that I make as a passer, and as we've learned, very important as a runner, to protect himself and make sure that we can keep him in there. All of those things have to be of the utmost importance, because we've learned, our turnover number is where it is, and it's not a winning formula, and we've shown over the 4 years, to Mark's point, even when maybe other players had to step in, if we didn't turn the football over, we've had a chance to win a lot of those football games, and we have in the break-even or better mark, and that kind of speaks to part of both questions in a lot of ways. But that would be it. Is I don't want him over thinking or worrying about, like, if the fundamentals need to be changed, if they need to be adjusted, we need more time on task on that. That's one thing. But let's just make the throws. Let's just throw and catch. Let's just play with great rhythm and understanding of the plan. And then the ultimate plan of our team on what it's going to take to win a game involves not giving the ball away to the other team.
Have you talked with JJ at all about sliding to protect himself a little more on some of those plays?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I know this is kind of something that's being talked about around the league a little bit. for multiple young players. But I think it's part of the learning process of understanding, especially with the guys that are so competitive and have played a certain style and made a play to win a national championship by doing so, or whatever it is, maybe early on in their career, made a play to win a game by doing so, like just the totality of it. And when a full season's worth of information and data can now tell you that needs to be a part of your refined thought process, protecting yourself and getting what you can, and it's a positive play, and then you put a period on that sentence by your ability to move on and play the next snap. And I think multiple times now we have a good amount of data that says that he can impact the game athletically, but it can't come at a cost of not having him in there for either the next snap or, as we've learned, the next week. Even if we somehow persevere through that day, the sustainability of it week to week is obviously a factor in quarterback play, and availability, as Bud Grant talked about, is the greatest ability. So that's got to be a factor, especially when reps are so important for him right now.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Well, that was quick.
I was going to cover for you, Amy, there. I know you're trying to get a little lunch in there.
I just ate a little peanut, so thanks for covering. Did they give a 2-question warning? Usually like 2 more questions.
Yeah.
I missed it.
Nope, he just, he's out.
He's out. Okay, so?
Not really an update from J.J. McCarthy, although we know he's kind of in the final stages of the concussion protocol. So I think we expect him to practice today. We'll get a report. Injury report usually comes out on Wednesday. We'll see if he practices, and if so, I think it's probably a fair assumption to say that he will play and he will be the starting quarterback on Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and a great Bud Grant quote there. The best ability is availability. So good.
I love it.
So good.
I love it. Bud Grant.
Right. Oh, yeah.
His son, Mike Grant.
Yeah, I know.
Edenbury High School.
Your EP Eagles.
My
Eagles. Goodness.
Yep.
Who is right. We'll talk about that another time. You know, I have thought about that. I have thought about the fact that we should probably just have him on and chat about that, because that's quite a program they're running over there.
Oh yeah.
All right, we got a lot more headlines to get to, a lot more that's happening that you and I want to chat about. Why don't we gonna take a quick break?
Let's do it.
And come back, and more headlines to come. More live coverage here on All Day Live. Look at the skaters out there on a very cold afternoon, and it's just going to get colder. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news if you don't love cold weather. We'll be back after this very quick break. All right, welcome back to All Day Live. 12:46. Let's get you caught up on a couple of more headlines here. Let's see. Let's start with this one. This happened about an hour ago, just sort of residual now. There was a rally outside of Terminal 2 at MSP. There were some union members there who are speaking out against deportation flights. It's called Unite Here, Local 17, and it's calling for the end of attacks on immigrant families and transporting people out of the country for what they say is without due process. This is a group that wants the Metropolitan Airport Commission, or the MAC, to put a stop to these flights. And we were out there with our cameras just a short time ago. Here's a little bit of what they had to say.
These deportations and the terror in our neighborhoods are ripping families apart and doing nothing but to sow fear and anxiety in our community. And we gotta demand better. We gotta demand better from our local government leaders. We gotta demand better from MAC, who runs the airport, who knows that these deportation flights are taking place. We gotta demand better from Trump, that fascist president. We gotta demand better and tear down the entire awful ICE machine that is wreaking terror in our neighborhoods and our cities.
Okay, and I was just looking to see, because MSP Airport had tweeted out but I think everything is back to normal now as far as the roads around that area. It looks like, yeah, I can't find anything updated, so we should be good to go there. But that happening at the airport. Go ahead, Ryan. Did you have something? Oh, okay, road closure between the two terminals suggesting to use light rail. That's what it was because of that rally. Okay, thanks, Ryan. Appreciate it. This story out of Rosemont that we're following as well, it's been going on for a couple of months now, and just a little bit more information for you from a meeting last night. So the Rosemont police chief has resigned officially now after being on leave for months. That city council in Rosemont accepting Chief Michael Dahlstrom's resignation last night, and then they ended up finalizing a payout as well. Now this comes after there have been some internal discussions over an anonymous employee survey. Deputy Chief Carson Thomas is going to take over as interim. He's actually been in that role since October when the chief was placed on leave. So there's no information as far as why Dahlstrom was placed on leave in the first place, and he didn't provide any sort of explanation as to why he's resigning as well. So it's one of these where a lot of people are just trying to figure out kind of what's going on here. But we know that last night there was some discussion following this internal anonymous survey, and now the Rosemont police chief is out officially. All right, one quick reminder here for those of you, this is specifically for those of you who had a baby in 2025 and maybe you're planning on taking some leave. Congratulations. Paid family and medical leave applications open up today for you. The rest of us is January 1st. This is that program that is going to be new to Minnesota starting in the new year. It offers up to 12 weeks for both medical and family leave, and then if you have to combine them in the same year, it's a total of 20 weeks is the limit there a year. It's being paid for by a little bit of payroll tax. Employers can collect some money from employees, or they can choose to cover more. According to Deed, and part of the reason that this went through is because 75% of Minnesotans didn't have any sort of a paid leave benefit with their job. So now they say nearly all Minnesotans will have access to this benefit. There are a few exceptions, people like seasonal workers, and you do have to be employed for at least 90 days with that employer to be eligible as well. So you can check that information out online. But we'll probably do like we do Medicare Mondays. We may do like a paid family and medical leave Wednesday or something where we talk about some of this, because it can be actually really confusing to try to understand. It's really important benefit for folks. Okay, how are we doing with Ahmad? Let's do it. All right, Ahmad is here. Ahmad Hickson, we want to talk some sports. Hey, Ahmad, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Hopefully it's toasty in that car of yours?
Absolutely. You see it's a little snow-covered TCO field over there, but we're good in the car right now.
So were you in the room with KOC just a short time ago? What some of your takeaways?
I think just pretty basic stuff. Talking about how, yes, JJ McCarthy has played bad. We talk a lot about his fundamentals and whatnot, but ultimately we just want him to do what he needs to do in order to get the ball to his best playmakers and let them go make plays. But you also can't do that if the offensive line doesn't play well. So he talked a little bit about play calling, route concepts, things like that, but it all stems from the guys up front and everybody just doing their job, which is something they all haven't done at the same time when needed throughout this season.
Ryan, what's on your mind?
What's on my mind? I agree with all of that. I think we just need to, I've said now over these last 5 or 6 games, I can't remember how many we have left, they just need to open it up and let JJ McCarthy and see what we got here. So
one of the questions was about the other JJ, Justin Jefferson, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ahmad, you would know this, but on Sunday it sounds like he did not stay around to talk to reporters, right? Is that right?
Yeah, that's
okay.
accurate.
So talk to me a little bit about his headspace. KOC was asked about it today, and your thoughts on on what's going on with Justin Jefferson.
Look, I played wide receiver in high school and college, and I was nowhere near good as Justin Jefferson. I'll just point that out. I was a walk-on in college, but I was extremely frustrated when I didn't get the ball. And you talk about a guy who's like a perennial Hall of Fame type player, like on pace to have one of the best wide receiver careers we've ever seen, and you can't get him the ball on a consistent basis. And then you have to think in the back of your brain, if you're Justin Jefferson, how long is this going to last? Like, how long is it going to take J.J. McCarthy to develop? How long are we going to have offensive line issues? But he's the ultimate team guy. He's never going to come out. He's never going to throw J.J. McCarthy under the bus or Kevin O'Connell or anybody else on this team. But for him, it's extremely frustrating. And you could just sense it on his face, sense it on the sidelines when he was sitting by himself, with a towel over his head, wasn't smiling like he's normally accustomed to. It's like, this is a frustrating time and a trying time for Justin Jefferson. He's trying to be a captain. He's trying to be a leader, say all the right things. But I think declining to speak to the media after the game doesn't really say much. It's just like, look, I've said the same thing every week. Like, we are playing bad football offensively. What do you want me to say? And so I think, like, I don't think you put anything into him, post-game media, because he always talks. He's going to talk tomorrow more than likely. If he declines to talk tomorrow and he starts accepting fines, I think that's when you start to look more into it. Like, all right, he's disgruntled. He's not happy. But I think you just chalk it up as a bad game, a frustrating game for someone who, like Kevin O'Connell said, wants to win so bad.
Okay, I'll hit pause on Ahmad for just a second, and I want to come right back to you because I want to ask you a little bit about what we're going to talk about. Oh, yeah, we got a couple more things I want to ask you about. But Ryan, can you tell us a little bit about what's going on with the Wild? Because last I remember, November was a disaster. And then
October.
October was a disaster, and then all of a sudden, November just kind of, and I kind of stopped paying attention, to be perfectly honest, and then things just started to take off. And you and I were talking about this earlier today, so I asked you to come on in and just tell me kind of some of your thoughts on what's going on.
Yeah, they're on absolute fire right now, and Jesper Wallstedt is a big reason why. That goaltender who had his 4th shutout in 6 games last night as the Wild beat the Oilers 1-0. The Wild have gotten a point now here in at least 1 point in their last 12 straight games. They have the 3rd most points in the NHL right now, right behind Dallas and Colorado. Colorado is on another level. They're on like a historic start. They're 19-1-6 or something to that effect. So let's throw them out of the mix right now. The Wild are right there among the best teams in the league.
Wow. Incredible. Yeah, we have to shout out to them. Also, the Gopher women's basketball team. I know we're kind of waiting. When's the Dawn Plitzowite availability, Ryan? Is that coming up?
We expect about 1:15 to hear from Coach.
So maybe we'll hear from Coach. But they're on a tear right now. Ahmad's nodding his head. It's incredible. Ahmad, did you watch? Have you been watching the Wolves?
Yeah, that game last night. I mean, what a game. For a game, but why are we going to overtime with a 3-win team? That makes no sense.
We just beat the Celtics and the Spurs, and then we're just struggling to keep up with it at 3-17.
It's frustrating to watch. I'm not going to lie. It's like, what are we doing? It's like one day you play great versus a good team, then you play down to another team. It's like, why can't we just be good all the time? I mean, it's frustrating.
Yeah, that's been pretty frustrating as well. I know we got more to talk about. Ahmad, is there anything else on your mind? Because we're going to talk, I think, later, Ryan, about National Signing Day. Is that
happened. Yep, today.
That's foreign territory for me. I have no idea what that means or what that looks like, or who involves maybe high schoolers, right? Who are going to get signed. Okay.
High school recruits, college football team where they find some recruits. I'm just going to go on my soapbox here.
Do it.
Everyone has been bashing me for trying to hold the Gophers football team accountable. PJ Fleck has been here for 9 years. He averages 7 wins a year, is getting paid like $6.5 million. And everyone is telling me, like, well, have some grace. They just beat Wisconsin. It's a young team. I'm like, it's a young team every year. Like, when are we going to raise the bar? Like, especially in this NIL era, things like that. The other Big Ten teams improving and getting better year after year. And it just seems like the Gophers are just the same stagnant team being complacent. Fans are letting them be complacent. So, look, the Gophers have gotten some big recruits out of the state of Minnesota, but let's go get some bigger recruits in other states. Let's go pay people and get some powerhouse players in here, some game changers. They have a legitimate quarterback in Drake Lindsey, but they need to improve the rest of this roster. They also need to do something better defensively because they've been atrocious this year. But I just think that the level for them is so low when it comes to success that we have to start holding PJ Fleck accountable and demanding more wins, especially when you're firing basketball coaches and think they need to be more competitive. The football program as well. So I'll get off my soapbox.
Okay, well, just in time, we got to wrap the show, right, Ryan? We're at that point, so you timed it out perfectly.
I don't disagree.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people probably agree with you, especially like you said when you look at the other programs and the coaching changes there. So, well, much more to come on that because we did hear from PJ Fleck earlier, right, Ryan?
We will hear from him. Yes, he spoke at 11 o'clock. We'll play a little bit about that.
All right, you guys. Ahmad, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it. Ryan, we'll see you back here in just a couple of minutes, all right?
Yep.
We'll be back after this quick break. Hello, everybody. everybody. It's 1 o'clock. We're so glad that you're here with us on December 3rd already. It is Wednesday, December 3rd. That crunch time between Thanksgiving and Christmas just feels like it's just somebody hit fast forward and it's just less and less and less time here. Hopefully you've gotten, to get together with some family and friends, and you've had some good quality time with the people you care about. We wanted to run through a couple of headlines for you here, and then we're going to check in with our Rob Olson on some of the things that he's working on for our newscast a little bit later. But a couple of this just in things that I just noticed that I wanted to pass along. One is a recall. And normally we don't report every, little recall that's out there because there are a lot on a daily basis. But this one is pretty pervasive. It affects a lot of different cheeses. So this is a recall on shredded cheese, and it affects cheese if you purchased it at Target, Aldi, and Walmart. In Minnesota and Wisconsin, that is included. It may have metal fragments in it. So there are some brand names here that I wanted to read off because there's a lot of them. So it sounds like it may have happened at a Great Lakes Cheese Company processing facility, and then they farmed out, and then different brands, they brand it. So from Target, if you shop Good and Gather, that's one of their house brands. It is that's one of them, the Good and Gather. And I won't go through all the little details, but you can go online and just check, shredded cheese recall, and you'll be able to. It'll come up. Borden, Brookshire's, Cache Valley, Chestnut Hill, Coburn Farms, Sunnyside Farms, Happy Farms by Aldi. Those were just some of the brands that I pulled out. So it affects things like mozzarella, pizza blends, Italian style blends, mozzarella mixes. I saw a cheddar in there somewhere as well. So definitely just check on that and make sure you don't have something in your fridge that has metal fragments. And then one more quick thing here, just checking. MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell has apparently filed paperwork to run for Minnesota governor. There is an article in the Minnesota Star-Tribune, if you wanted to read that, where he says he's not 100% sure yet and will likely announce that decision next week. And you may remember it was back in 2022 when he considered a run against Governor Walz because of President Trump's urging. All right. Let's dive into some of the latest, what we know. Yesterday there was the flurry of news stories that came out of the White House that were specifically about Minnesota. And so we had a couple of different crews covering a lot of different angles yesterday, and today we're kind of trying to slow things down a little bit and explain things hopefully a little as clearly as we can given the information that we've been able to advance here. So our Rob Olson has been working on a couple of different things today. Rob, thanks for taking a few minutes here. Tell us, the latest, and there's so much I could go through to set this up, but I think we just kind of dive into where you're at now, and then we can expand a little bit.
Well, I'm in the Lake Street area right now. We've been kind of on standby here, for some potential ice activity. We'd heard some reports this morning, but nothing that we have come across, nothing that we have witnessed ourselves. But certainly it is, that is the atmosphere here today following, the news yesterday. And I was at that news conference at City Hall as well with the mayors of Minneapolis and St. Paul, the Minneapolis police chief too, and city councilman Jamal Osman. And you sense that that apprehension, kind of the confusion or anxiety about what's happening here. And to put it into context too is with increased immigration enforcement here. With the Somali population that, they said yesterday, and the numbers back it up, that, the vast majority of Somali Americans are Americans. The vast majority of them, there's well over, I think it was nearly 60% of those who are here were born here. And of the rest, 80-some% are naturalized U.S. citizens. And then there's a number that are legally here, but not citizens yet, who are in the process. But there's a lot of fear in the community about what this means. And certainly I was talking to Councilmember Osman yesterday after the news conference. I said, what's the message to your community, those who are citizens, naturalized, born here, et cetera? And he said, we're telling them to make sure that they carry around their passport or other documentation, or that, that make sure that they have a real ID or enhanced ID to prove their identification and their citizenship. And so that's sort of the atmosphere that this community is kind of in right now, feeling like they have to be prepared.
Yeah, and as you know, yesterday there were so many different angles and different storylines that came out kind of almost simultaneously yesterday that it's kind of hard to separate them out. But what you're covering today is, yesterday there was a report from the New York Times that had said that federal agents were coming to Minnesota for increased immigration operations here, specifically targeting Somalis in the Twin Cities area who have deportation orders. In other words, have already been ordered to leave the country. And as you said, I think one of the concerns from the local officials was, will there be due process, which is something that we are all afforded, right, in this country. So can you explain a little bit about some of that and some of the concerns around what the fear of maybe the unknown here?
Yeah, you're right. The fear is the unknown and unknown itself too. What Mayor Fry was saying yesterday is that he's thinking that there will be mistakes made, that there will be people who are legally here that get swept up in these things. And then there's a concern, pardon me, about the sometimes kind of opaqueness of the immigration court process from there. And so they're telling everybody to know your rights, to understand that people can't enter your home without a warrant. And to make sure to know who to call, whether it be immigration attorneys or community groups or advocates, legal advocates that can help.
Yeah.
So, that's been their message about this, is that, again, that anxiety that, they may be targeting people with deportation orders or people who are here illegally. And the sense is with a lot of these is that these are targeted. They're specific people that they're looking for, but there's that concern about who else might get swept up and whether it's, what process that they may face trying to prove that they are here legally.
Yeah, and we're going to let you go in a second. And after that, I just want to let people know I'm going to break down that temporary protected status for Somalis in Minnesota, because that was a big piece of what came out yesterday. And I think there's maybe some, if you don't, and I had to read about it quite a bit too to really understand what that means. But when the president says he's eliminating, or he wants to eliminate temporary protected status for Somalis in Minnesota, we need to kind of parse out who that affects, what that means, because that's not sort of a wide sweeping category of people. So I'll do that here after we talk with you. But also, I think a couple of the things that we talked about yesterday that I think are worth revisiting today, because as we go into the days and weeks to follow here, they talked a little bit about people who are, we saw some things at the airport even today, some protests out there as well, where they were protesting any deportation flights, maybe not directly responding to this, but we're seeing more and more people who want to protest, and they talked about that a little bit, and also the local law enforcement's role in any of this regarding the federal authorities. Did you want to kind of parse through some of that for us?
Yeah, and that's something that you hear repeatedly and heard again yesterday from Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara, that, the local police departments do not participate in immigration enforcement. That is something that is, in the charters. It's the separation, because they're worried about, they want people to call 911 and report crimes, report accidents, report fires. They don't want anyone who may be here undocumented to not report public safety issues. And that's why they say they draw that very firm line there, that they do not question people, they do not ask for documentation. It's because they feel that can be a barrier to reporting serious public safety issues, and they don't want that to occur. So again, they, like yesterday, this was, I chatted with the police chief. I said, did you have any inkling that this was coming? And this was, after the reports came about this, and he said, no, we don't get any sort of, heads up about this, because, there is not that collaboration. We had just heard reports from the community over the last couple of days that it seemed to them, incidental reports, that enforcement activity was increasing. So they will respond, such as what happened on Lake Street this past summer. Yeah. They're responding for crowd control reasons, because the chief reiterated, we will do everything to defend your First Amendment rights to voice your opinion, to peacefully assemble, to demonstrate, to protest. But keep it peaceful, keep it nonviolent, because then once you get into any property damage or threat to the safety of other people in the area, then they have to then respond for public safety, for crowd control. They don't want it to get to that. That's what we saw again in St. Paul last week as well. They don't want that to happen. They would prefer not to have to show up at those at all, is what the chief had said. And so they're urging everyone to keep it, please exercise your First Amendment rights, but don't cross the line into any threat to property or people.
Yeah, that was a good point from yesterday too. I thought that was interesting because even Mayor Melvin Carter from St. Paul said, I don't even like talking about crowd control. I don't even like using that term when it comes to sort of the police getting involved. And then Brian O'Hara, the police chief in Minneapolis, said we will respond to protect threats of violence, actual violence, and destruction of property. So, we'll kind of see in the days and weeks ahead. I mean, if it was summertime, I wonder if it would be a little bit different. Right now, it's pretty cold outside, and maybe that will deter people from doing things that they shouldn't be doing, and have more sort of organized, peaceful protests. But that's all important stuff. And again, we're trying to sort through all of this too with folks. I think one of the trickiest parts, Rob, and I don't whether or not you agree, but what I've seen is that we can tell parts of this story when we have information and data that we can go to kind of lean on and say, yep, this, yes, this, based on that. And some of this has been tricky, and we've really been trying, and we'll continue to try to find the data. The example I gave in the first hour was that Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem had said yesterday that 50% of the visas here in Minnesota were fraudulent. And so we've been trying, and we reached out to people on the right and the left to try to get to those numbers, and we just haven't been able to do that, frankly, and we're still trying. We'll continue to try. But when it comes to ICE operations, there are things that we're not going to be told for reasons that to protect the integrity of operations.
Of the investigation.
Yeah, so I mean there are a lot of pieces here that we're not able to sort of tell, but I think just trying to clarify as much as we can for folks, best we can try to do.
Yeah, it does get difficult to try to wade through all that. And again, even as you mentioned, there's operational security here. I mean, if they're serving warrants, they don't want anyone to know ahead of time that they're serving a warrant, because that would defeat the purpose of, if you need a warrant to find somebody who is wanted for legitimate legal reasons, they certainly don't want to telegraph that in any way. So, and then the visa issue too gets, visas are not issued by the state, they're issued by the federal government. And so that gets murky when you hear these sort of accusations or exclamations going back and forth.
There's a lot. We'll do our best to just track kind of what's actually happening on the ground as best we can. So thanks, Rob. Appreciate it. We'll look forward to talking to you a little bit later today.
Sure.
With some reports. Thank you. All right. Let's see. Do you want to do a quick, should we take a break? And, weather. Okay, perfect. Let's do a check of the weather, and then we'll take a break, and we'll come back. Much more to come here on All Day Live. More headlines for you and more live events. Stay with us.
That blue sky shining as we head off toward Duluth. We're getting there here in the Twin Cities as we clear out our morning clouds. Even had some flurries left over. Of course, we had our dusting to half-inch of fluff that greeted us from our clipper from overnight, and temperatures, they are now falling. That's our big story. Early on, it was the slipping and sliding from our early morning, again, fluff. But now it's all about the falling. Duluth in the single digits for this afternoon already. We're falling through the teens here in the Twin Cities. We probably won't see those single digits until we get on into sunset. But we stayed around 20 for our morning commute. But as we clear that sky, we're falling through the teens the rest of the afternoon, down to around 9 as we go through our dinner hour. Turning bright, that's what we're doing. Temperatures falling. We're doing that as well. Sub-zero afternoon chills. We're getting there here in the Twin Cities. Winds out of the northwest, 10 to 15 miles per hour. That wind chill just keeps on dropping as we get brighter and brighter. The brighter we get, the colder we get as we are on the backside of that clipper system, and those temperatures just keep on going down. In fact, we're going down to 7 below. If we make it to 7 below, that will be our coldest temperature this early in the season that we've had in 30 years. A wind chill of around 16 below, as a matter of fact. Looking at a broad scale, temperatures across the better part of the state in the teens below zero. Just as cold in southern Minnesota as northern Minnesota because of that fresh snowpack from over the weekend that brought the greater snowpack in southern Minnesota. So we're all kind of in this together in the single digits and teens below zero. But with that breeze, we are talking about teens and 20s below zero. This is how we'll feel when we wake up tomorrow morning. Again, no records here in the Twin Cities, and most folks will be teasing a record maybe near Eau Claire. We'll see, but we're not. Our record is 15 below here in the metro area. That's for an air temperature. Again, this is a wind chill here, so not record-breaking temperatures, but certainly the earliest we've seen this style temperature in 30 years or so. We will rebound by tomorrow afternoon to around 15. We'll do that with some extra cloud cover that builds in the afternoon, but at best a wind chill of around 5 by Thursday afternoon. And then that leads to a few flakes or flurries across the area Thursday night into Friday. Very, very light, probably lighter than what we had last night. Same thing on Saturday, but we'll bump up temperatures, upper 20s to near 30 on Friday. That's almost close to average. Average is still a thaw, though, every afternoon for now. 19 as we cool off on Saturday and frigid again into Sunday, and then we rebound again back to the upper 20s as we go on into the middle days of next week. We might actually touch a 30 or so, which would be close to average again into the middle days of next week. Fox 9 All Day Live continues.
Welcome back to All Day Live. Today is National Signing Day for college football. The Gophers, their commitment list, Ryan, let's see, 8th in the Big Ten.
I believe so. There will be different rankings throughout, but somewhere.
I actually don't know what that means. I'm just going to be completely transparent and tell you I have no idea what that means.
Here's I know what we do know. The Gophers added 31 players to its roster today, signed players from 19 different states, and 3 of them are from Minnesota.
Isn't the season still going?
What the season is the college football calendar is all over the place, right? We have coaches that are leaving before their teams go to playoff games, like what we saw in Ole Miss. Yep. And now we have the Gophers are bowl eligible. They will play a bowl game later in December, maybe January, probably December. Okay. And yet we're thinking about next year's team. So and for the next 4 years. So let's let PJ Fleck kind of explain what happened here on National Signing Day.
This is the highest ranked recruiting class in Minnesota history, ranked 24th in the country. And I'm really, really proud to say that we signed our first top 25 class. It took us 9 years. Yeah, absolutely. It took us 9 years, but some people ask me, like, how do you get the number 1, 2, and 3 player in the state of Minnesota to commit and sign again? How do you get the number 1 player in the state of Wisconsin again? Number 1 player in the state of Indiana? Number 3 player in the state of Wisconsin. But more importantly, the top 3 in the state of Minnesota. Kids camp. I said that a long time ago, that 1, cultural sustainability is going to have to be a big key aspect to recruiting in the future and keeping in-state kids here. We are now recruiting and signing players who were at our little kids camp 9 years ago. And we were going to raise them Gophers, we're going to teach them Gophers, and we're going to keep them Gophers. And we said that 9 years ago, and everybody's like, yeah, I haven't seen it happen just yet. And now consistently, year in, year out, that's coming to fruition. So I want to thank our Director of Athletics, my boss, Mark Coyle, for believing in our program and allowing us to have the cultural sustainability that we've had. Dusty Clements as well, who is our administrator for football, and all that he continues to do for everything that we do. 17 of these players are going to be mid-year enrollees. That's the highest we've ever had. Getting them here, getting started is going to be absolutely critical. 28 of the 31 are multi-sport athletes, are competing all year round. Different sports, which is really important to us as we keep moving forward. And then we have 9 players playing for state championships or have won state championships. Braden's a back-to-back state champion as well. So we're bringing in champions. If you're going to win a championship and you want to go to the CFP and you want to continue to evolve the program, you want those things to happen, you got to bring players in that understand what it takes to win championships and what kind of locker room that looks like. So they picked here, academically, athletically, socially, and spiritually. They picked the hyperculture, the Row the Boat program, and they're winners as we move forward. So we have 17 states represented about the guys we're about ready to hit on, and I look forward to sharing those guys with you. It's the
the second time in program history that we've signed a top 50 national recruit. And when you look at it, Coy Parrish was one of them, and then Aiden H., who's from Indiana. We'll talk about him here in a little bit. But really, really excited about this class.
All right, PJ Fleck, and we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this. And welcome back to All Day Live. A couple of regional stories for you here, starting in Duluth this afternoon, and the future of the Lester Park Golf Course. Oh, there we go. A little more action. Yep, love it. This Lester Park Golf Course now largely is going to rest in the hands of the Duluth Economic Development Authority. The story from Fox 21 is that they voted in favor of gaining control over the future of that land. So for the next 9 months, there will be a land study, also an opportunity for public comment. It's about a 250-acre property, and so stay tuned for those updates. Let's take you to Rochester, kind of the Eota area. Students at Dover Eota High School have a new opportunity, and this is really cool. They can learn some butchering skills. This is the school's first ever Minnesota game elective, this class. It's hands-on experience where they can process a deer. They can learn how to cut and grind the deer, even make venison summer sausage. And this is from KTTC. They're reporting that that class was funded through the Meat Education and Training Grant Program through the Department of Ag in Minnesota. So that's a cool opportunity. And then we're going to scooch over a little bit to Mankato. You've heard of Toys for Tots. This is Toys for Tattoos. This is a tattoo shop that's giving some discounted flash tattoos to anybody that brings a toy for their drive. It's Reborn Legacy Mankato, and they're offering walk-in $80 tattoos with a donation, and you can do that through December 14th. And older kids, ages 10 and up, is what they need. And unwrapped gifts, please. Again, that's Reborn Legacy Mankato, and those gifts will be donated to local families. All right, let's take another quick break, get us on track, and we'll be right back after this with much more coming up on All Day Live. And welcome back to All Day Live. Glad that you're here. We are following a couple of different things in the next half an hour that I just wanted to set up for you. One is a Minneapolis City Council it is the Public Health and Safety Committee, and we're going to be, Ryan, is that going just yet, or if not, it has not started? Okay, and then so we'll try to jump into that here in a second. And the other event that we were watching that is supposed to start about 1:30, but we'll see, is an announcement from President Trump from the Oval Office, and I think this, Ryan was saying this has to do with maybe some new fuel economy standards and potentially rolling back some of the standards that were put in place by the Biden administration, right, Ryan? So we'll...
Essentially, yes,
okay.
Yes. Standards that were put in place by the Biden administration.
Okay.
It appears reports that I've seen that the Trump administration are going to roll those back. So that is what we anticipate that announcement to be at 1:30. We know the White House is on White House time, so 1:30, 1:45, somewhere around there.
And it's the Oval Office, which I think is that the one where he takes a bunch of questions too, so it can, it can kind of go in different directions, as we saw, yesterday too, with all of that. And speaking of that, we're also going to be, when we check in with Minneapolis City Council, I think one of the things we'll be looking at is if I didn't see anything on the agenda that looked like they were going to address the recent reports of ICE operations taking place in the Twin Cities area. But as we know, one of the council members, Jamal Osman, is of Somali descent. So we'll see if they end up talking about that at all.
Yeah, it is the Public Health and Safety Committee, and I do not believe Councilmember Osman is a part of that committee. But yeah, I do not know if they will address that off the top. Sometimes they do before they get going. It was not on the agenda item or the agenda list, so we'll just wait and see. But
sometimes we hear from Chief Brian O'Hara too from MPD, so in these types of meetings, so we'll kind of just wait and see. You'll let me know what you're seeing there, and if we can take that as well.
Yeah, one of the items that are going to be a public hearing that they're going to be talking about is the off-duty use of city equipment or city facilities and the fees associated with that. The council is looking to kind of recuperate some of that money back, and so that there's going to be a public hearing on that, and that's one of the items on the agenda today.
Okay, sounds good. So you got your eyes on that. Let me know if that either of those takes hold, and we'll go ahead and take that. Let's see. Did you want me to? I could do a couple of different things, Ryan, here. Kind of going on the fly as we wait for some of that. I can go through the TPS stuff.
Yeah, why don't we do that?
You want me to do that? And then you just interrupt me when you see something pop up. But
I will. Do you have what you need on that?
I think I do. Yeah, I've got papers here. I have papers everywhere, and it is just kind of part of the madness here, and I know I think it bothers some people. Sorry, Patricia. So she just emailed and she was like, enough with the papers. I'm really sorry. I wish I had a better system, but we are like constantly moving and grooving, and things are getting shuffled. And
blame me, because we start the day with a nice rundown. We want to go in order, and sometimes we don't go in order.
Better system, but so anyway, so I apologize if there's a lot of shuffling of papers here, but I do want to go through some of the things, some of the notes that I made, because this was something I learned about that I thought was really interesting coming out of yesterday, and kind of all of the information we were receiving. And after I had a chance to slow down and read through some of this was a little clearer to me. So we heard the president say yesterday that he wants to eliminate temporary protected status, TPS, for Somalis in Minnesota, and he said effective immediately. And as we saw, it kind of set off this wave of concern and fear. But what does that mean exactly? What we're not talking about here is the vast majority of Somalis in Minnesota. Temporary protected status, the thing that the president wants to eliminate, is for a specific group of people. And so just really quickly, we know Minnesota has the largest Somali population of any area in the U.S. The census shows more than 60,000 people, but our numbers here also show about 80,000. The mayor of Minneapolis had said that. It was the early 90s when they started consistently coming to the U.S. Civil War refugees. They came here, they leaned on Minnesota's social service programs, welfare programs. So in 91, and this is where the temporary protected status comes in, and this is what the president's been talking about. In 91, Somali citizens in the U.S., these are also called Somali nationals, so these are citizens of Somalia who were just living here in the U.S., were given this temporary protected status that was under the George H.W. Bush administration. So TPS allows the nationals of certain countries, not just Somalia, others, to live and work in the U.S. temporarily if their home country is in distress, there's disaster, conflict. It is not a path to a green card or citizenship, and it does need to be renewed periodically by the Department of Homeland Security. So again, temporary protected status, not for Somali Americans who are U.S. citizens. And according to, this is not recent, so let me get the right stat here because Seth updated this and I want to make sure I get this right. According to the census numbers, and this is, I think, important context here to give folks as we look at the who we're talking about and how many. Oh, Ryan, is it no longer in the rundown? Oh, you moved it down. Sorry, I asked you to move it down. Bear with me. Bear with me. Thank you. Stick with me because this is an important statistic, and I want to make sure I get this right. Where did we move this to? TPS, Ryan. Where did we move it? You're good. Yeah, it's totally fine. Let me just figure out. I'm so sorry, everybody. So I'm trying to make this more clear. I'm probably making it more confusing, but the vast majority, it's something like 73% of Somali immigrants are naturalized citizens. So this would not impact the vast majority of folks that we're talking about. And I think that's just an important 87%. That's the new number. Thank you. We had 73, 87%. So it would not affect, in practice, it would not affect the vast majority of the Somali Americans who are living in the United States and here in Minnesota. The numbers from the federal government are about 700 Somali nationals living in the U.S. currently who have this temporary protective status as of March that the president wants to eliminate. So just wanted to kind of clarify some of that for people because I learned a lot when I was looking into that today. All right, City Council in Minneapolis I think is underway, Ryan says. Where are we at? Do we want to just dive in and listen for a second? Public Health and Safety Committee, let's listen in.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Any objections? All right, thanks, colleagues. Our next item is a public hearing on the off-duty use of city resources. This is amending the ordinance related to fire and police protection to add reporting requirements for the use of city resources in outside work. I will pass it to my colleague, Vice Chair Wansley.
Thank you, Chair Chavez. I would like to just take a few moments to speak briefly to this ordinance titled Off-Duty Use of City Resources Reporting that I'm bringing forward for council consideration. This ordinance is another piece of ongoing work that you all are aware of. My office has been working to advance for almost 4 years now, and this is just another piece of that work of making sure we're improving and increasing transparency around the city's off-duty work and programs. The goal of this ordinance is to improve and create accountability measures within MPD as it relates to off-duty and the city resources being utilized to implement it. This ordinance will require the administration to provide the council and the public with quarterly updates on the usage of city resources related to off-duty work. This information would include the site addresses the off-duty work is being performed at, how many hours were worked utilizing city resources, and any unpaid fees attached or associated with that work. Again, since entering City Hall now, back in 2022, I've sat on the Public Health and Safety Committee, and throughout those years, all committee members, as well as council members at large, have had many conversations related to off-duty work. And in the 4 years since those conversations have started, I wanted to highlight that any substantial change that has happened to the system was largely in response to council's continued persistent oversight over this system and not due to MPD or the mayor leading with a vision of reform for this program. I also want to mention that the Deputy Director of the Office of Community Safety Center did send a memo over to council members or committee members. I believe that memo has been uploaded to LIMS, and I do want to be clear on it. I was actually incredibly disappointed in reading it, as it did seem to have a very revisionist understanding of how the work that council has moved forward around off-duty, how that work has unfolded over the past several years. In the memo, I also heard the same recycled excuses as to why MPD has not prioritized the regulation of off-duty work, and with full awareness of what measures needed to be put in place to do that. I have heard city leaders consistently pointing to the same specific things as opposed to actually making those changes. And specifically, I have heard around concerns related to time tracking data management issues be referenced as a barrier for implementation of regulation over off-duty. But to be simple, there is literally no excuse for a department that has a multi-million-dollar budget to continuously ignore the very clear and identified changes that have been put in front of the department's faces time and time again around how they can go about regulating this system. These problems have been identified. Solutions have even been brought forward on how to address this by various agencies. These include our own internal agencies, such as the Audit Committee, who has done numerous audits over the system of off-duty and have provided recommendations to MPD and the mayor time and time again of how they can make changes. Those recommendations have come from agencies like the Department of Justice, which said that our current MPD off-duty system was ripe for corruption and was a barrier to accountability in policing. So I want to be clear that it's not a lack of options or funding as to why MPD has not enacted change regarding off-duty. There's simply a barrier of a lack of political will. I also know this because in many conversations around advancing regulation of this work, we have become aware that there are several companies and vendors who are willing and ready to do this work right now, of doing the timekeeping, of providing the database management services that MPD has said that they needed. MPD is also aware of this. Their staff is knowledgeable and have done research on this about the vendors that are willing and ready to do this work if a RFP was administered today for it. They could have, and by they, MPD, could have moved forward with the implementation and a contract for those type of vendors on their own for years, but have choose not to. Also in this year alone, Council has passed numerous actions related to regulating off-duty, which MPD and OCS has been well aware of and have been part of those conversations, and could have had the opportunity to put those implementations, purchase the timekeeping sites or wherever that they needed. They could have done that this year, also chose not to. But there will be more discussions around this, starting with markup that's happening on Friday. But I want to at least highlight that for years, taxpayers have been unnecessarily subsidizing MPD side gigs, and we're talking about a subsidization in the millions. And Council has taken its authority serious to offload that financial strain off of taxpayers and to actually place it where it's rightfully should be, and that's amongst those who are soliciting those services, and for us to have a transparent and very documented process of how we're tracking those fees, specifically for the city resources that MPD officers uses when they're carrying out their side gigs through off-duty. So I, again, just want to encourage my colleagues to support this ordinance. If we continue to let this work, just sit by the wayside, which it feels like MPD often wants, then we would not have had any action taken. And Council has been the leader in making sure action is being taken, so we don't have off-duty program that's continuously being unregulated, that's putting civilians and officers at risk of harm and putting the city at tremendous amount of liability or being liable for financial risk. And
all right, listening in on the Minneapolis City Council meeting, Public Health and Safety Committee, and that is City Council member Wansley, who's talking about the accountability for MPD and their use of off-duty work and equipment. And we will take a quick break. All Day Live continues right after this. Stay with us. Okay, we've had the first, major big snowfall of the season. The slopes are open at Trollhaugen in Dresser, Wisconsin. Let's check in with Marcia Hubby, the marketing director with Trollhaugen. It looks chilly out there. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, so show us what we're seeing behind you. It looks like things are either getting ready to open or you're opening today.
Oh, we've been open. This is our, I think, 19th day open for the season.
Tell me, so is it Trollhaugen that's the one that's open first usually of the season?
We try to be one of the first ones open. That's true. And we opened on November 10th this year.
Okay, even with the warmer November, you guys were able to pull that off? How?
Oh, we call it snow science, but really we've invested a lot in our snowmaking infrastructure over the last few years. So once we get that good temperature and that low humidity, we're able to really put down a lot of snow in a short amount of time.
Okay, well, show us around just a little bit if you can, and let us know what we're seeing and what you got to offer.
Yeah, so right now we have 5 runs open. We have a ton of snowmaking going on. If you can see some of the snow guns in the background. We are fast at work to open more trails and runs. So we should be adding probably doubling our trail list by tomorrow. So having a lot of new runs for the weekend.
My goodness. Now we know that the temperatures are going to fall today and tonight, and it's going to be really, really cold. What advice do you have for folks who are coming out?
We say no bad days, only bad outfits. So make sure all of that skin is covered up. The best thing about skiing and snowboarding in the Midwest is how accessible and easy it is. If you're chilly, just go inside to the chalet, take a break, get some cheese curds, warm up, and then go right back out.
So tell me a little bit about, how long have you been there, first of all? What's your connection to, skiing and Trollhaugen?
Yeah, this is my 7th year behind the scenes at Trollhaugen. A lot of the people here at Troll have been here for decades. It's truly a family operation, 3 generations in the same family. So yeah, I've been here 7 years and just am really happy to be a part of this family-run operation.
And what have people been saying as they've been coming out for the last 19 days now? How are they doing? How are they feeling?
Everyone is extremely excited. This fresh snowfall has got people really excited for winter in a way that we haven't seen in a while. So having snow on the ground, we say, is the most important psychological flip for winter excitement. So now that snow is in people's yards, they're just chomping at the bit. We are not 100% open yet. That's what everyone keeps asking. We have to remind people that it's still only December, early December. So we've got some time, and hopefully another 4 more months of skiing and snowboarding ahead of us.
Yeah, so walk us through what people need to know when you say you're not fully open yet. Just kind of detail that for us here and what the expectations are, I guess, weather permitting the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, so what we call early season means we're working around the clock to put a solid base down on the runs. We want a really good base, usually about a minimum of 6 inches to 12 inches of snow. So that we can groom everything and get that nice corduroy. So over the next few weeks, we'll start adding more and more terrain. You'll see a lot of ski areas popping up with more terrain as well. So what we can say to everyone is check social media. It's the best way to stay up to date with current conditions, photos, videos. Definitely check Facebook and Instagram to get the most up-to-date information.
Okay, and then finally, do you guys have any festivals or anything coming up that's kind of a special event?
Yeah, next week we actually have one of our events that's near and dear to my heart, celebrating women in operations. So we have women from all over the country coming out to build our terrain parks, and then we'll be hosting a women's competition for skiing and snowboarding. So definitely check that out. It's called Take the Rake. It's really amazing, showing what women are capable of building and also riding the parks here at Trollhaugen.
Oh man, that sounds really cool. When is that again? You said next week?
Yeah, so the 11th, 12th, and 13th. We also have a special guest here. If you guys want to see who we have here at Trollhaugen today, just because he just happens to be walking by, we have Zeb Powell here today.
Hey.
Now he's on Fox News today in Minneapolis.
I saw him in the hallway. I saw him in the hallway this morning. Hey,
you never know who you're going to see at Troll, so just come on out.
Full circle moment here. That's fantastic. Yeah, what a great opportunity. I know I've got a kiddo that's just chomping at the bit to just like, mom, please tonight. Yeah, it's so many people have been looking forward to this, and great opportunity to get out there. And if you're not familiar with where Trollhaugen is, you want to just kind of describe for folks who may not know.
Yeah, we are just 50 minutes north of the Twin Cities, so we're right on the border of Wisconsin. We say it's north of the cities, but it's not too north that you're stuck in the car forever. So it's a quick drive, very scenic. You get to be in the St. Croix River Valley, and it's worth a trip. Come on out.
All right. Thank you so much for checking in, and good luck as the season gets opening up here. Appreciate your time.
We'll see you guys soon.
Okay, take care. See ya.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. So fun. That was a cool moment. Zeb right there. I saw him in the hallway today.
Crazy.
He was here earlier, and then who knew? That was very cool.
It looks so nice there because we're inside.
I know.
And the sun is shining.
I know.
But
also,
I know how cold it is out there.
Speaking of that, Ryan, can I just say I was gonna talk about this yesterday, but this seems like the perfect opportunity because as she was standing there and the sun was so bright, and we know that it reflects off of the snow. I was thinking about eye protection and the fact that we need to be wearing eye protection and sunglasses in the winter. And I learned yesterday something about you that I'm not gonna lie was a little disappointing.
I don't wear sunglasses really ever. They don't look good on me. They're either too big or too small.
I find that hard to believe.
I haven't found I also wear a lot of hats.
I'm
a baseball fan, so I have a lot of baseball hats. So the hat sunglass combo.
Is that enough for you though, or do you still feel like you're kind of squinting when you're out in the?
No, I don't feel. I mean, sometimes I guess in the winter maybe when it comes off the snow like that. But no, not a huge sunglass guy.
Can we do a segment, and maybe Lauren would be up for this, where Lauren and Ryan go shopping for sunglasses, and we can have our viewers vote on which pair that they like, because I think speaking on behalf of all of us, Ryan, we care about your eyes, and we want you to wear sunglasses.
I love that, especially if the viewers will also chip in to pay for that, or Lauren, or you.
Maybe we could get a sponsorship.
I don't even know where I would go. Target?
Sure.
Walmart?
Target's good. You don't have to spend a lot because you're probably going to lose them anyway if you're like me. So, yep, any of those, you know, sometimes you can get a really good deal on a little bit, you know, more expensive pair. But no, you don't have to spend a lot.
Are Oakley's still a thing?
I think, yeah.
Would that be a brand
I think they are.
Ray-Bans?
Yep.
Men in Black style?
Yes, I love it. I'm not going to give up on this, Ryan. I think we're going to find you a good pair of sunglasses. Really important.
I love it.
Okay, so
All right.
I'm done with my mom moment here. Do we need to take any more breaks, or are we good?
We're good with breaks. Let's just keep cruising here.
Okay.
Should we jump ahead to our favorite story of the day?
Okay, yes.
Go ahead.
No, I'm not going to say what it is, but if you have been on social media at all in the last 24 hours or so, I saw it right before I went to bed last night, and I could not stop just grinning and thinking this might be the greatest thing I've ever seen on the internet in my entire life.
Yep. What's happening here? This is a liquor store in Virginia. And it looks like someone and there he is. That is a raccoon, as we can see, who went through this liquor store overnight, broke in through the ceiling tile, I believe, and then just had himself a night and was not responsible. I will just say that. He was not responsible. And you can see what happens. Now, the funny thing is he tried to go to the bathroom. I mean, he was right next to the toilet.
It appears it was either the trash can or the toilet. Didn't make either, but also didn't make a mess. So,
not in the bathroom,
at least
he made a mess in the store.
So this was Ashland, Virginia, in case you're wondering. That was early Saturday, and yeah, just hit that bottom shelf, you know, a little scotch, a little whiskey. Yeah, just kind of, like you said, had a time. And
some of us know the feeling, I guess, maybe back in the day, long ago.
And the funny thing is, there's a lot of funny things about this because he's just fine, or she is just fine. They ended up, animal control came in and, you know, got sobered it up, I guess, and then, you know, a couple hours of sleep, totally fine, back out into the wild. There you go, little fella. So
we can laugh about it because all good.
Everything's fine, except for the liquor store, which, sorry.
I had some cleanup to do.
Yeah, although now, I mean, how famous is that liquor store for being, you know, the one?
You know, people are coming in there saying, "Is this the?"
Yeah, the one. Yeah.
All you have to do is look at the shelves.
Those are raccoons.
Yeah.
Remember the NPR raccoon?
How could we forget? Was it a raccoon or a squirrel?
It was a raccoon.
You're probably right. Yeah.
Wait, now I'm questioning myself.
I think it might have been a squirrel.
It was a raccoon.
It was crawling, right?
It was, you know what? It might be. Hold on. Now I have to Google it. I know we're running out of time here, but hold on.
Do raccoons? I suppose they can climb. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was a raccoon because...
You're probably right.
Yes, it was, because I remember I bought Kelsey Carlson a card, like a Hallmark card, but it was like somebody made it on Etsy or something, where it was like never give up, and it was a picture of the NPR raccoon like climbing. And again, that raccoon totally fine, so we can laugh about it now.
Totally fine, fun story.
Good stuff.
You know, that raccoon will learn his lesson or her lesson,
or maybe not, and maybe they're like, everybody, this is what we're doing now.
Yeah, everybody, come to this place.
All right, one more, or
we got 30 seconds here.
Oh, that's it.
We have a little Zen.
Your Spotify Wrapped. We didn't even get to that. What's your age?
It was 72.
You're 72? You listen like a 72-year-old?
My top song was Ed Sheeran, Azizam.
Okay.
Because my son loves that song and he likes to bop to it, so it's on repeat a lot. So that's no surprise there.
I love it.
So,
all right.
Let's leave you with this, though. This is from our producer extraordinaire, senior producer extraordinaire, Amber Milner, driving in rural Wisconsin.
Aw. All right, see you tomorrow.